Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and for today's video, I was scrolling around on Reddit earlier today, and I had seen there was a giant post here on basically a long rant on the generosity in Umamusume regarding like polls and currency and all that within the game. And it's basically going down through a lot of the stuff they have in it in terms of their gacha gameplay and all that, and a lot of their own comments on it. So I thought I'd do a react to it. Now this one will be pretty long, because it's a pretty long post, as we'll kind of see here. It's a lot of scrolling through it. Kind of give my own thoughts on it. When it comes to talking about things that I agree with and disagree with in gacha games, I tend to try and stay as neutral as possible. I never ultimately attack any games that I play, whether I like dislike it or not. I'll just kind of give my thoughts on the gacha system. And I've already kind of mentioned that on a lot of Umamusume's, like their gacha system to me does suck. But I will definitely say it's not the worst either in terms of, and realistically to make it pretty good would only need a minor tweak. To make it similar to another game like Nikke, which we'll probably get to when we get to them talking about gacha here. But I thought I'd just kind of read through this and kind of give my thoughts on everything they're saying in terms of complaints and whether something I think might need improvement, or if kind of maybe a counterexample to what they're saying is wrong within the game. But yeah, with that, we'll just kind of go ahead and see what they have to say here. Now, I'm not going to read everything here, but we'll kind of go skim through it and just make comments on it as we go through it. So right off the bat, they mention it. If you're playing Umamusume, you probably already know everything here. They just say, right off the bat, typical generosity with polls, because they do give a lot of polls. Every single new scenario, they give like 100, I think it's 120 now, on the main banner. But that's always, all the new scenarios are coming with like must pull banners. So the generosity in a sense is just them dipping your toes into it when you already feel like you're forced to pull on it. In a lot of cases, people feel like you have to pull 400 times, or in like my case, is somebody who's trying to be very competitive in the PvP 600 times, which is what I plan to do on like the Grand Live banner. I plan to do that on the El Condor Pasa Speed banner with the Lark scenario and most of the other ones, because they pair up the PAL cards with also the meta, the newest meta cards. Now on the JP side, it's a little bit more difficult for them because they don't have pre-planned like stuff knowing what's coming up next. And they always do typically have some pretty decent cards that'll come after those as well on occasion. So it can be pretty tough. So they do mention, yeah, it's predatory. I mean, all gacha games. I'll just say right off the all gacha games. You're playing a gacha game, you're gambling, it's predatory. It's a little bit better today with gacha games because pretty much all of them have hitties. And so unlike with real it is gambling, but unlike casino gambling, there is no chasing losses. So you're not going to spend $1,000 pulling to MLB a support card in this game, and then, oh, I didn't get it, and now you have to chase the loss and spend more money to get your money back, like you would at a normal casino. A normal casino, you lose $1,000, and then you spend $5,000 trying to get that $1,000 back, but now you're down $5,000, and now you got to spend $25,000 to try and get that $5,000 back. That won't happen in a gacha game unless you're insane. And so, kind of go through there. So yeah, a lot of hours, brutal RNG heavy grind to get one bottle of Uma Glue every 30 minutes. There's a lot of things that they do to improve on this over time. Now, they are having us kind of step through the same process JP did, rather than us getting all that stuff right off the bat. And there are the positives and negatives to it, which when we get to the stuff down below, I'll kind of talk about it. One of them being, if they give us any of the quality life though early, all it does is mean instead of your grind is going to increase, it's just now the requirements of the grind is much, much higher. Let's see. So introduction, yeah. So this is kind of going through what Umamusume is. If you're watching this video, you probably already know. Most of the game, you have the career mode to build Umas that ultimately you can use, whether you're making parents to make, or grandparent Umas to make parent Umas that ultimately will build your aces for the end game mode, which is currently champions meetings. But eventually we will have League of Heroes that it'll alternate with. That's ultimately the goal and the reason you're doing these runs, outside of the people that play it casually for the story. And that's kind of what they're going to say here. And they kind of highlight it with highly competitive. Yes, it is competitive in the champions meetings, but not too insane. And it's not as pay to win. It is pay to win, but it is not as like they're going to win every single time. I mean, I spend a lot of money in this game, and I lose to jobber Umas all the time in my runs. And so you always have a chance, and we have plenty of free-to-play players in my audience that make very strong Umas. Some that I'm like, I don't even know how they get them so strong, because I can't get them that strong on occasion. And some of it, part of it is the RNG, which they're going to talk about here, but it is very competitive in the sense you do have to build a competent Uma, and if you want to be able to win consistently a little bit more, they need to be fairly strong, and having heavy duped SSR support cards definitely helps that, especially when it comes to very specific skills. The bloated gacha pool, this is something we will see global. It's slowly getting worse and worse on global. It's already really bad on JP. And that is the sense that early on, when you're doing your polls, the pool of support cards and even Umas was much smaller. And so it was much easier to luck into, oh, I've got Limit Break 3, or I got MLB, like me, I got Tamamo Cross MLB off of a support card banner. I've gotten Ines Fujin Guts, Limit Break 3 off of just off-bannering it. Over time, that will become less and less likely as that pool gets larger and larger and larger. You're not going to luck into multiple dupes of support cards over time. Now, we do have a little bit of something that helps with that. If you're very savvy with saving your rainbow crystals and using them as necessary, sometimes you can luck into a card that you never were going to pull on, and maybe you could use the crystals that kind of top it up to whatever the limit break is needed. But ultimately, you're not really going to luck into high limit breaks the farther we get into the game, as that pool gets larger and larger and larger. And yeah, they mentioned this, and they'll get more into detail on it. The RNG heavy gameplay gets alleviated by eventually we're going to get more and more passes. So right now we just have the monthly pass that gives carrots. Everybody probably already knows about the big one we'll be getting in Grand Live, which is going to be our first iteration of rerolls. Now that one does not come with a pass initially from what I understand, but down the line they will add more rerolls to your Sparks that will be paired with a pass. That's, I think, going to be like $3. They break it all down here in a little bit. But they also have now the Inspiration reroll. They have Auto Parent, where it immediately makes parents. Spark Selectors got a pass. So a lot of these things that people complain about, they're adding into passes that are monthly, pay a monthly, like a monthly fee to it. There's some positives and negatives to it, which we'll get to when they kind of break it down. Now they talk about the PvP, the end game. I mean, the end game is Champions Meetings and eventually League of Heroes. And you can kind of count Team Trials in that aspect. It's kind of funny they mentioned the other end game things they add in terms of gameplay. We have Gold Ship Week, Fujikiseki Showtime, the Aptitude Test, and the Racing Carnival. Biggest thing you want to hear people complain, myself included. Those of us that like the PvP, we hate these events because these events ruin your parent runs. They ruin your ace runs. They're just separate runs you need to do outside of your making your champions meetings better. So these ones can suck, and they just suck because they ultimately make the grind to get your aces take even longer because you got to take time to do these ones. I think they're fun to an extent, but with our acceleration, we just don't have time. And even if we weren't accelerated, I could see it from the JP side. Even if we have a month to prepare for the champions meeting, I want to spend all of my time working on that. That's my opinion on it, but I know some people, they like these with these extra little challenges. It just makes it a little bit more difficult, especially right now. Track Blazers may be the bigger problem because of how long it is, and it won't be as bad in the future, especially when we get auto. But yeah, someone's mentioning here in chat, Carnival's not too bad because it doesn't make the difficulty of the race your scenarios any different. But like Gold Ship Week just wrecks you. The opponents are harder. Fujikiseki's, I think, was the same thing. Trainer Aptitude Test had you wanting to do specific races and specific things to meet the aptitudes. The last one wasn't so bad because they didn't have all of the different things. Like you had to get short, medium, long. This one was just do a bunch of them and meet objectives and get points. So you could kind of ignore it and still complete it. But they were annoying to a certain extent because, I mean, our main focus is on building either parents or grandparents for the champions meetings or the aces themselves. So then they kind of talk about the PvP here. However, as we all know, Gacha plus PvP has always been a disastrous combo, especially when there's premium currency on the line. That has generally been true. I will say Umamusume, though, is the only gacha. Like I haven't played all the gachas. I've played a decent amount that have PvP. There has not been any gacha where I've gave a crap about the PvP outside of Umamusume, and I think that's a good thing. I would not have the amount of hours I have in this game if it wasn't for how good the PvP is, because it has a sense of something to always be working towards in the game. Most other gacha games, I mean, the PvP sucks, and yeah, I mean, like, we'll use Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail as an example. The end game grind in that is doing the artifact or relic runs over and over again, try and get perfect pieces that don't matter, because you don't need perfect pieces or really good relics or artifacts, as you can beat the end game content as long as you have like the newest characters or at least newer characters, and all you're doing is you're playing that content to get more pulls to pour for more characters to do that end game content. I mean, I don't know. Some of the gachas that can be fine, like Nikkei, I think it's fine. They have a really good story with it. But the one reason that Honkai Star Rail started becoming a drag is just that loop was just terrible. I mean, so, and you don't put in the hour, you just do 15 minutes a day. This Umamusume is like the only gacha game that I could see, I can put in 10 hours in a day sometimes. You never feel like but you always feel like you're making progress. I mean, it depends on the person ultimately, though. It might not be the same for everybody, but the roguelike elements and the constant grind on it is fun to a certain extent. I will say, once we start getting more of those quality of life, it will definitely become better. Especially once we get past Track Blazer for aces. Track Blazer really sucks on ace runs. I do like it for parent, but I hate it for ace runs because of how long it takes to realize your Uma's bad and you need to start a new one. And okay, so now they get down into kind of comparing it to other stuff. Many modern Korean / CN gacha games either front roll the rewards on the lower ranks and have high rank rewards, mostly just flexing rights, which is title, small premium currency bonus that casuals don't feel bad when losing, or no PvP. Here are some examples. Yeah, so I mean, we see that. Nikkei is the closest example. I don't like participate or really give a crap about PvP in Nikkei at all, which they really kind of have two if you count solo raid. And it ultimately comes down to titles. In Nikkei solo raid, if you get in like the top 3% of your scores, you get the top title, and then after that it's very small increments into the premium currency. But top 30% gets like the basic title, and then their actual PvP where you go against each other and fight each other, I think you get currency out of that. It's like nothing special in it. But here's the problem with that. I don't give a crap about it because there's nothing special to it to a certain extent. The titles help, I will say, and that's why. So like I've actually tried on the solo raid specifically for, it's not a title, it's on theirs it's an avatar. But they kind of break it down like that. If it's just flexing rights, you don't have to worry as much. I think where they say it on here. Yeah. That the importance, they say one person at a conference had mentioned the importance of PvP elements in, I think it's Blue Archive, has initially been set low to avoid ruining the plug. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense for games that it's not centric around it. And I think that makes sense for most gachas, but Umamusume is just different in this sense. I mean, what other things can you add to the end game in a racing game? Where, I mean, what's the point of doing all these scenario runs? I mean, one of the reasons a lot of gacha games are 15 minutes and done is because you just log in, do your dailies, and call it a day. Get your random grind out. And that's the case for pretty much all these gacha games. Yeah, and then it kind of brings up all the other games that do it. Yeah, and then Umamusume, on the other hand, incentivizes tryharding and spending by giving more premium currency towards ranks. Below the PV... Okay, so now they're going to break down the PvP modes. Team trials, free-to-plays can be competitive in that as well. Just build a simple I hate doing the team trial runs, but these are a way to... I mean, if you really want to change it up, team trial runs are fine. Easily can make rank 6, even as a free-to-play. If you've been polling decently and been playing a decent amount of time, it just requires you to actually put time in to build the Umas, something I don't like doing. But yeah, not too hard. Now champions meetings, which is what we currently have, and it is as it says here, 3v3v3. So basically you versus 2 other people trying to win the race. All you need is one of your Umas to get first place. Nothing else matters. All that matters is whoever's in first place, it's got to be one of your Umas to get a win. There's multiple brackets. You have the first one where everybody's in it. If you get a single win, you go into Group B, but if you're able to get 3 wins on a ticket, you go into Group A. And then it kind of works the same way from there. If you only get 1 win in Group A, you go down to Group B. If you can get 3 wins on a ticket, you go to Group A finals. Getting to the finals in that, if you've been playing a decent amount, even as a free-to-play, very easy. If you cannot make it to Group B finals as a free-to-play that's been playing for a little bit, you're definitely just not doing something right when it comes to building your Umas. And if you're like brand new, as I mentioned here, you also have the Open, which as a brand new player, you can get away with building something for this. As long as you get the correct skills that you need and you stay at that, you get to the rank, the max rank you can get, you have a chance at winning it. I mean, it's going to definitely be a lot more random because it's going to be very hard to like min-max out an open rank Uma because you can't go above a certain rank. So if you take like a really strong skill, it might raise your rank too much, and thus it definitely will be a little bit more tricky. Well, I wish Open had their own titles, so it would actually incentivize some people to try out. Like, I would do Open League if it had its own specific titles tied to it that said it was Open League. Then, like, as we're doing now our second set of Zodiacs, I might have tried Open League for the ones that I had already won in the graded. But since it's the same title and you can't get platinums there, I will not be doing that. But you do have that open and available for everybody else. And if you're casual, great. Open League is definitely the way. If you just like the story and you want to play, you want to be able to play the end game at Champions meetings, perfect for you. You don't even really need the support cards, but if you want, you just pull for 1 copy. You do not need multiple dupes to make competitive Umas in the Open League. You just need 1 copy for potentially the gold skill. That's about it. So I don't think there's too much there. Graded is can be fairly difficult to get into Group A finals initially early on, but even over time, even free-to-plays, you should be able to make Group A finals. It will be hard to win it on occasion, depending on which one it is, but it shouldn't be too hard to make it. And then as you see, yeah, 5 out of 5 wins, and then, this is breaking down the carrots right here. So if your Umas are very strong and you're in Group A round 2, you get 150 if you win a 5 out of 5 ticket versus 4 is only 75. So if you can have a perfect run where you win every single race, all 80 races leading to the finals, you get a lot more carrots versus somebody that barely makes it there and gets like little 40s here and there. I mean, it is what it is there. I mean, me personally, I don't really take these into consideration when it comes to planning out my polls, and I don't really think even free-to-play should either. It is a decent amount if you can get 5 out of 5 wins, but even people making super strong Umas are not getting a lot of them unless you have like a stupidly broken one that is the meta one, which people have on occasion, but it's still very hard to get them consistently. And so it's not much of a difference. It's really not. To me, to consider it too broken. Now, if this was like a 1,500 for a 5 ticket and only 100 or something, yeah, that would be a big difference. And then you have the finals placings. Yeah, if you win the whole thing, 2,500, and then you kind of step down to 1,200, so it's half as much. Open being... See, I really feel like Open should pay out more. just because I feel like it's got more RNG into it. Anyone can participate in it. But yeah, the rewards kind of suck for it. It's basically the difference between, if you kind of look at it from the graded side of things, you're looking at a 1.5 difference if you make it to the grade B finals and lose it, versus winning the top one, which, well, not a 1.5, a 10 1.5, or basically like 15 pulls. So, I mean, it's significant, but I wouldn't consider it game-breakingly different. All right, let's see here. We have League of Heroes. League of Heroes is now where you're going to see the true tryhards come out. But I feel like this one's going to be more favored towards casuals here. So this one is now you're versing one other person, one other real person, and then 6 AIs. So it's your 3 versus your opponent's 3 plus 6 AIs. Now this one's different as your placing of all of your Umas matters, and you get points based on their placement. So as they mentioned here, first place gets 100 points, second 60, third 40, and then it goes down from there. The biggest thing is, and this is one thing a lot of people aren't going to like, it's very frontrunner heavy meta because you need consistency. Bringing in late surgers, while they can be very strong, they're not going to consistently be strong. And you absolutely do not want to get behind. You do not want to get blocked and have an Uma that just outright loses. And so it's very important to get these top ranks. And if you want to be like in the top ranks, top 96, which is going against the entire server. This is the entire server. This isn't champions meetings where you just get paired with random people. You just got to make it to the finals by getting 2-3 win tickets and then win your finals. This is, you've got to consistently win and get first, second, and third in all the races multiple times. And you can only like have it where you don't get first, second, and third. From what I've seen, like maybe 5 times at most if you want to make it to the top 96. So that's going to be very, very competitive. And there are ranks or titles associated with that. And I don't know if they mentioned them down here. But the thing that I think your casuals are going to the only thing your casuals are going to care about are these right here. So you have your first platinum title, you'll get at Platinum 1, and then the main platinum title, kind of the equivalent of your champions meeting platinum at Platinum 4. The maximum score you can get if you win every single race with first, second, and third is 34,000 points. So you can lose 4,000 points out of these. And so as long as you're consistently getting firsts and seconds and thirds, and then when you occasionally lose, you're getting your fourths, fifths. You can see you're losing. If you get a fourth while you get first and second, you lose basically 10 points out of that 34,000. So, but from everything I've seen, even me playing on the Japanese server a little bit as a jobber, everybody should be able to get this as long as you're building competent Umas that are, I would say, frontrunner or pace or whatever the current meta positioning is. You should be able to reach that, which is ultimately what everybody cares about, which is why this one's considered to be more casual. And I think a lot of people will like it for that reason. But if you're very, very competitive, yes, it's going to be a lot harder. Don't even worry about the carrots on this one. I mean, top 10,000, like top 30,500. The number one person, of the entire server, they get 5,000 carrots. The amount of money they've spent to make that 5,000 carrots. Same thing with second and third. Even the top 96. It's not worth it. A 10 pull. You make it to the top 96, you get a 10 pull. I wouldn't even worry about it. They deserve it. They built, not only did they whale on the game, most likely, but they also built some very strong, consistent Umas. So, this one will just be a fun, just collect rewards as you move through the ranks. And you'll be good to go there. Club leaderboards, we don't really need to go into depth on this. This is more of an how active you are in the game. If you're decently active and play the game enough, you should be able to get in the top 500, a top 500 club, which is a difference of, I mean, top 10, they're basically all botters, at least a lot of them are, or they have multiple people playing on the same account. And the top 10, 30, and even 100. I would say, like, if you're competitive at all, 100 is where you have the super tryhards, and then 500, the people that just play. Like, a decent amount of time. Very easy to be in the top 500 club. So to me, these are the two that matters. 300 carats. Not too much pressure here. And so yeah, just depending on how active you are, you pick the club that would associate with your activity. Okay, the gacha. Here's the biggest things that they're going to go into depth on complaining. I don't know how long I've been yapping here, but this is going to be where I will agree with them to a certain extent. Well, probably disagree to a certain extent. The basic information, yeah. So they are a 3% rate up, meaning 3% chance to get an SSR. And now they say 0.5 to 0.75. The 0.5 was the very beginning. And then they upped it to 0.75. I'm pretty sure it's 0.75 from now on. It's never going to be a 0.5 again. Even on the split, even the banners that have multiple SSRs, it's always 0.75. It's just 0.75 for both of them, which means a 1.5 or a 50% chance to get one of the two. And then all of them get left into the pool, the standard pool. I love that. Everything going into the standard pool. I love that in Gacha games. Nikkei does it. I love it there. Lost Sword did that. Really liked it there. And I'm trying to think of other ones that do it. There's a bunch that do it. Sword of Convalaria did it. Really liked it there too. It always feels good because when they get put in the standard pool, you can sometimes luck out. It's especially good here for the Umas. We'll talk about support cards in a second. We've kind of mentioned it a little bit. But it's just always nice to luck out something that you lose the 50-50, or in this case, the 25-75, but you get something you wanted anyway. We've seen that with me when I pulled on Summer Maruzensky. I got like all of the Umas I wanted. I lost like multiple, it took me 170 pulls to get Summer Maruzensky, but I got like almost every other Uma that I wanted that came out prior to her on the way there. And so I really like that system in these games where they get put in the standard pool. It works out pretty good. And part of the gambling of the game, yeah, 1 pull is 5 carats. Full pity is 200 pulls, which, as I say, costs about $420. So if you're going to buy a full pity, it's about $420 without any of the bonuses. So that's if you've already done all the top-ups and all that, that's the cost. New banners drop every 2 weeks. It's about a week for us in global because of the acceleration. Yeah, and some get rerun and some not rerun at all. Yeah, and then once you pull, all the characters are immediately playable. Yep. Have fun and Umapoi the girls. But most of the power, most of their power comes in the support cards. Yeah. You cannot experience their career stories without pulling them first. LARPing is a common lifestyle. There's alternate costumes and stuff in there. Yeah. The alts, but they're fundamentally different. I know some people don't like alts in that sense. They're fundamentally different in terms of their kit. They have similarities, like their aptitudes are going to be the same and all that. But you can almost think of the alts as being a fundamentally different Uma. The only difference, ultimately, is you can't use both of them together in the same race. Although you can have one of the alts inherit the unique of the other one if it's in the grandparent. Yeah, and then as you get dupes, you can level them up to 4 and 5 stars. But to me, the Uma banner is the best. Like, the way it works, you pull the ones you want, and then when you lose 50-50s, you can off-banner some of the ones that you may have wanted but didn't want to pull for. And I think all around works really good. And it works very similar to Nikkei's system outside of, their pity, which they're going to get into here in a second. In that it's just great picking up all kinds of randoms off banner. Now, they probably learned that for Umas, that it's very easy to get the Umas you want, especially with the selectors that you can buy. So they do at the 3rd anniversary. I don't know how they advertise this without getting heavy backlash, because it's usually very hard for gachas to do these kind of things. But there's these now have semi-limited Umas, which means you cannot use a paid selector to get them. So every anniversary, they're giving the $20 paid selector. You cannot use it to get these specific Umas. So you can off-banner them, meaning you can lose a 50-50 or 25-75 on an Uma you're pulling for and luck into them. But by the time we start getting to these Umas, there's so many in the pool, the odds of lucking into them gets lower and lower and lower. So if you do not pull for them specifically on the time of their launch, you're going to unlikely be able to get them until they have a rerun, which they do get reruns. And you can pity them there. And so it does increase that FOMO aspect. And this is, I'm just seeing this as them as a way, as a business, trying to counter the fact that it is pretty generous on the Uma side. Generous is a bad word for it, but a pretty good system on the Uma side in terms of trying to get all the ones you want. If you're willing to spend a little bit of money with the selectors. But these ones you cannot do that. So, and they can be they can have a pressure tied to them, because a lot of them will release alongside the new scenario. I think pretty much all of them have. I don't know if Cinderella Grey did. But like Almond Eye, which just recently dropped, she dropped alongside the new Wit card, Forever Young, as well as the new PAL card for the new scenario, which is, as you'll probably, I think they mentioned it here, are must-pull. They are must-pull banners in the sense that you need the PAL card. It's paired with a meta card. So of all the banners that you're going to have the most pressure to pull on, it's going to be those support card banners. And they pair these semi-limiteds with them. So now you also feel pressured to pull them. So it is a way for them to try and drain your carrots every new scenario. As some people call it, it's new scenario tax. I mean, in the sense, it's the times that you pull. Now, they do give free pulls. That's the one thing. They do give a free 120 pulls on the support card banner. No longer the Uma banner. But we do have that. Yeah, so they're talking about their limitations. What about power creep? Yes. There's power creep in the game. They mentioned some of them. Everybody on Global here already knows Christmas Ogre Cap. And they mention it. I mean, there's other ones in here, but they mention Cinderella Grey Ogre Cap, which is specifically tailored to Miles in the Arima Keenan or Nakayama racecourse. And then, which is funny, because she got, as someone has mentioned, she got like immediately power crept by Almond Eye, but she's also very, very strong in the mediums as well. Almond Eye being super broken. And we don't need to go in details on all their kits, but they're just very, very strong in their own rights. And this comes down to the evolutions, which we don't have on Global yet, but evolutions can make skills that might initially suck actually very strong. Some cases, I'll just put it, we can kind of use Cinderella Grey's as an example. Her evolution makes the monster skill, which I've talked about a lot for pace chasers, an acceleration on longs that as long as you're within, I think, 10 meters of whoever's in first place, they get a 0.4 acceleration. They basically get the equivalent of an encroaching shadow, but from the pace chaser position. Cinderella Grey Ogre Cap makes it where she basically is guaranteed to get it. And so she's always going to have that acceleration. But if she's within 10 meters, it's a little bit stronger. So very, very good for her. And I mean, Almond Eye has her own with that too. So ultimately, yes, this is a way. And they don't mention this, but they start making more and more track specific. I don't know if they mention it here. But they start adding track specific ones. Like this Uma is very good at this specific track. And so you want to pull, they're going to be the meta Uma for that track, but they're going to be bad like everywhere else. And a lot of them are tied to what they were good as a real Uma in. We've seen that with Ines Fujin. Her ult is tied to having a speed increase after coming off an uphill in the late race, which only happens in the Tokyo racetrack. And that will be something we'll start seeing more and more often as we go through time. And a support card, kind of the same thing here. We don't need to read what they're saying on it, but oh yeah, I guess you have the main story. You have the free SSRs, which are really SRs. Really, they're SRs disguised as SSRs in a lot of cases, and then the event support cards, which you can get very easily if you play during that support. Very few of them are like must-haves or big. You absolutely want to get the biggest ones being the Mihono Bourbon. Wit card, of course, for all your front runners. Or very early on, the speed special week was very good. Just having a just generically good speed card when the game launched. And then You have, of course, like the Power, Marvelous Sunday, Guts, Yukino, Bijin. Over time, though, they've gotten worse and worse. Like, we're not going to have, like, a really, really good one for quite a while in Global at this point. I haven't looked into all of them. But, yeah, they're pretty bad overall. And you'll have SRs in general that will be better than in most cases. Oh, and then leveling your cards, of course, gives you a bonus to team trials. Yeah. And as they're mentioning here, SR cards eventually are basically going to become obsolete. Veterans, even free-to-plays, are going to have full MLB SSR decks. You might be a little bit behind on the meta cards, but those full MLB SSRs are going to be better than any new SRs that come out. Admire Vega Guts was realistically the last, like, really strong SR card from what I can see if you're a veteran player who's been collecting cards for a decent while. And so you don't even need to take them into consideration. I don't even know of any of them that become good for parent cards at this point. And yeah, they all get power crept. They're constantly getting power crept. And they're becoming more, they will become more strategy specific. So they'll be more niche in the sense, hey, the meta card for this track is this support card, and the meta one for this one, or this strategy, is this one. And if you want to be able to do everything, like a Leviathan will want to, you have to pull in every single support card, versus getting the generic ones that are going to be advised from me and other content creators. And then you have the free pulls, yeah, 100 to 120 pulls per new scenario. But yeah, like they say, yeah. You lose them on daily reset. Some have the stored, all the anniversaries store them over time, but you cannot log in. But if you log in, just do your pulls. I mean, realistically, I get that they go away if you logged in and didn't use them. Just make sure to use them when you log in. And then, yeah, some events give those 1 per instead. I mean, those are ones that here and there all over. We have that right now with Golshi Week. Just a nice little bonus there. Yeah, why not give 150 carrots to actually save them? Because they don't want to give the carrots. They just want to give you a little bit of pulls on banners here and there. Which, I mean, ultimately, you can think of it as you can randomly luck into something. But a lot of cases, it's on the Umas, you're getting the statues for upgrading your Umas. Or on the support cards, yeah, they're kind of useless. Unless you just get really lucky. Okay, so now they're going into the RNG here. Now, I'm not going to go into depth on the RNG. This is a... I mean, they're just talking about all the RNG in all of the scenarios and all the ways that you can get screwed over running your scenarios. And, I mean, that's just how this works in this. I think the one big critique I'll have is Trackblazer kind of sucks because of how long it takes. But, I mean, this is a roguelike game to a certain extent, and that's just how roguelike games work. I know there's certain things that are brutal, and they will get better with quality of life down the line. Now, we're going to talk about how that quality of life doesn't magically make the RNG better. But just know there's a lot of RNG built into it. And I mean, it's a roguelike. You want to get that good RNG. You can even see me. You see me crashing out. If anyone watches me stream, I'm always crashing out on ace runs right now on Trackblazer because of how long it takes to find out you've had bad RNG. I don't mind the bad RNG. I just hate when it takes forever to find out that you had bad RNG. But yeah. Yeah, destroy your PVA. Yeah, if you have anything, like... You can have the best run going, and then one of those RNG events can just wreck your run. Yeah, which they just talk about here. The 1 hour scenario of Trackblazer and how it can wreck you, time-wise. And then their bad timing of support cards, Throne being one of them, and eventually the Goddess card. They've kind of corrected for this, and like all future ones are paired with a meta card, which has the positive and negative associated it, which we already talked about. They go into the RNG on the sparks, which, I mean, yeah, you have the chance of getting your specific spark you want. The red one's just completely random, and then the white sparks. This is the one you're going to have the most control over, and of course is going to be the most important, especially as we get farther and farther into the game. Blue sparks will matter less. Red sparks will, of course, always be important to get your S S's in there. They do eventually add like a genetics white that basically they're a white spark that works like a red to a certain extent. But it depends on your parents and grandparents, but that's much farther down the line. Which I don't know if they talk about it a little bit down here, but making good parents and grandparents will get a lot better later on, but it's a double-edged sword, which we'll kind of learn when we get down here to the paid packs on it. Okay, so now you have all these quality of life that are coming. They started assigning a subscription to them. Right now in Global, we have the Daily Carrots pack for $7. Eventually we'll get a battle pass that gives a lot of materials. That's about $5. This one, I think if you've been playing, like there's stuff in it for like the super tryhards, but if you're a veteran free to play, or I would say, yeah, if you're a veteran free to play, you don't need to feel pressured on this one as much. I think the biggest thing it comes with initially that you can't get very easily at the time will be, I think there's crystal shards in here. Hint books eventually get added to like the dailies and all that stuff. You'll be able to get them very easily. So this one is not as mandatory. Oh, actually, they mentioned it down here. Yeah, 1 crystal shard, and yeah, some tickets and stuff. But it's by no means a must-have. You get a lot of stuff on the free side too. But the big ones here are going to be the quality of life subscriptions. Now, we're going to get our first taste of this with Spark Reroll when Grand Live drops, but I do not believe it's going to come with a subscription. It's not going to be as good as the current Spark Reroll in JP, which has multiple rerolls, which is the 3 times. We're only going to get 1 time, and it's going to cost TP. But when we eventually get the improved reroll, the first reroll is that 30 energy, and then after that, it's 30 carrots plus 30 carrots. In 1 run, basically, if you want to do all your rerolls. But if you buy this $3 pass, you can just do all 3 of them for free. Like, if you're willing to spend any money on the game, this is like a must-have. Just for getting your better parents and grandparents. And then you pick the favorite. So just because you reroll it doesn't mean you lost the previous one. You do all your rerolls, and then you just look through them, and whatever's your favorite, you take that one. There is no you reroll and you lost the old one. For $3 for that quality of life, it's an absolute must buy, which is you can probably already see what they're doing. They slowly start adding these quality lives that'll feel like must pulls. You have the blue pink spark selector. This one's about $7. This is, you get to pick what your blue or your pink is. You can pick one or the other. So if you're building Christmas Ogre Cat, or not Ogre Cat, or anyone that has like a ton of A's, you can be like, I want it to be a medium spark. Guaranteed to be medium when you use this pass. You can do the same thing with blue. I want to guarantee this is going to be a power spark. You can do that. That's what this one allows you. And it's $7. Pairing that with the rerolls is going to make it where you're going to get super, super strong parents very quickly with your manual runs there. Or even your auto runs when you eventually have auto. And then the latest one they gave, the Uma plan. And this is where they're really starting to step it up. This one has multiple benefits to it. It's $12. First, you have a sweep career mode. Now, if you have this one paired with the Spark Reroll Pass, as it mentions here, you can do 10 instant parents. And they're parents only. And what it basically means is it just automatically does, like instantly, 10 career runs. You set up some parameters for it to run. It instantly generates these parents. It'll have a bunch of white sparks. It'll have a pink spark, blue spark. You can select the sparks on them. So you can use your spark selector to select the sparks. And it's just a 10 instant parent. There's a huge drawback to this one in the fact that you don't have a control over which skills it selects. And thus the white sparks are very junk majority of the time. Because I think you can only target like 5 specific white sparks. And so there's a lot of support cards in the JP version currently where you're bringing a support card for one specific skill that you want to inherit on a parent. But this parent generator will basically take all of the skills that that card has, because it has a crap ton of skills, which eats up all your skill points and doesn't pull the other important skills. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and so ultimately the god tier parents are not going to come from this. It'll be very good for new players getting into it, but of course, I mean, it's $12. What's really big on this one is going to be this one, the Inspiration reroll. And this is, like if you watch me playing, me trying to get medium S. What this does is you get a reroll of your Inspiration. So you get 2 copies of your Inspiration as you're getting ready to do the Satsuki show. And yeah, it's basically you get 2 Inspirations and you pick the best of the 2. Very, very nice for ace runs. And parent runs as well, especially when you're trying to keep, like right now, if you're building front runner parents, keep ignited wit in your parent chain. Getting 2 Inspirations is really, really nice for giving yourself, taking more advantage of those runs. And then 5 parent borrows per day. I mean, more parent borrows, the better, especially once we have auto. I mean, the more borrows, the better, because when you have auto, you can do your, I think they're up to 15 now. You can do 15 parent runs in a day. You just let the game play it while you're doing something else. And then at the end of it, just select your skills and then see what your sparks are. And it's going to be trash. It is what it is. And then you swap to the next one. And mixed reactions on this. Now, I was going to say the double-edged sword to these, even if they were free, and that is the more quality of life that we get, the better parents, the higher the standards your aces need to have. So right now, because we don't have all these quality of life, you can win a champions meeting not having every dang thing in your Uma. You can make an okay Uma. I mean, if you have a front runner that has your groundwork, the skills to activate groundwork, you have a little bit of mid game, you have some end game, you have good enough stats, you can win. You're not going to win consistently, very strongly, but you can win. As we start getting these quality of life stuff in, the parents are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. You probably, if you've seen any of the JP parents that have like 80 skills on them, you have like perfect stats and that is because they have all these quality of life that makes it easier and easier and easier to make strong parents and grandparents. And so so you're going to spend the same amount of time on the game dealing with the RNG. It's just the requirements of the RNG is going to get higher and higher and higher. And it's ultimately no different than it is now. It's just now you're needing an even higher god tier luck on your ace run versus just needing a good run on them. So, but now because you have to spend money on it, it does set back free-to-plays to a certain extent. So that's the subscriptions. Okay, and then the selectors. So they talk about all the selectors. Once we get to the 2nd anniversary, I think it hasn't changed since then, but we get multiple selectors. So we have the free SSR support card selector. Then you can buy 2. One of them is $21. That gives you 1,500 carats plus an SSR selector. And then another one that's $70 that comes with an SSR selector plus 5,000 carats. As they mention here, anyone who spends money, they're pretty much going to map these out in terms of planning their polls on the selectors. So Summer Maruzensky is a good example. She's coming out. If you go to full pity at 200 polls, you can still stop. Even though Limit Break 1 is really what you want, you can still stop because the free selector that we will get on the 1.5 anniversary will include Summer Maruzensky. So you can get her to Limit Break 1 off of that if you got really unlucky and did not get a single copy in 200 polls. You're going to see that with a lot of other support cards, especially as a paid player. Hey, this support card's good. I wanted MLB, but if I can get it to Limit Break 1, I can use the 3 selectors, the free one and the 2 paid ones, to MLB it on the 3rd anniversary, 4th anniversary, or whatever. So you will, if you're willing to spend any money, you can plan around these to MLB more support cards. Umas, same thing. You can plan around skipping certain Umas if you're willing to spend money on the selectors. I've already mentioned one of them that's coming up, Wedding Curran-chan. She's going to be very, 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 very good on a League of Heroes that's not going to be coming out for like 2 years. So just pick her up on one of the Uma selectors before that. Don't need to pull on her. But that is going to cost you the $21. So that is planning around those. You have the guaranteed 3-star banners. These ones kind of suck because, like I said, the bloated pool. And yeah, I've been pulling on them more for content than anything. But at this point, they are becoming worse and worse and worse because you have no predictability on it. And unless you have like a bunch of random cards that you might want to get off of it, it's pretty much an easy skip. Now their Uma equivalents are nice, but you can always get a dupe there as well. Now the step up, I have not looked into these too much, but you can, it works similar. We'll just kind of use it similar to the selector, other than that you select specific cards out of a pack, you select 10. This is kind of like Nikkei's standard banner, where you pick specific Nikkeis in Nikkei that you want, and whenever you pull an SSR, you're guaranteed to get that one. This is kind of like that with the wish list. You select 10 things that you want in it, and then every pull in it is guaranteed to be one of those 10 versus being that entire pool. And then you have guarantees within this. When you pull on it, and it steps up to these guarantees, but it's still 10 support cards. So you better have 10 that can give you some value on it. But yeah, the heavier spenders and very competitive players are going to want to pull in that too. Yeah, and so they expect about $30 a month plus the selectors. You could end up spending a lot of money long term, but by no means do you have to. There's free to plays that win still to this day in JP. So is it going to be easy? No, but you can still plan around it, especially now in global since we know what's coming. Oh, okay. And so someone in chat's telling me it's a typo here. Yeah, it's 7,500 carats, not 5,000. I'm guessing that's just a typo. Then what if you're free to play and ignore PvP? You absolutely can do that. This game is super cheap if you do that. If you just care about the story, just do all the content, save your pulls, pull for your favorite Umas, and I would say pull on the occasional SSR support card that might be good for them, and you only really need one copy to ultimately be able to do your careers as a casual. And even then, you can still participate in the PvP. You just go into the open league on the champions meeting. So, I mean, we don't need to read all their stuff in here, but there's plenty to do. I don't think they mentioned that. They just mentioned that you can do the scenarios with the story. You can make some kind of like challenges to like some of the specific things they have in the game, like Udada winning the Arima Keenan. But they don't mean open league. You can always build for open league, and you don't even have to try hard it. Just get to that, get the correct skills, and get that correct top rank rating that you're allowed to have, and throw them in the open league. And I mean, it's got to be fun to watch. If you're not into the champions meeting, I don't know, but I just say you can still compete in PvP even if you're gonna have a low win rate. Open league, you always have a shot. So yeah, they kind of go through that. So when fun becomes an excuse to silence criticism. And I think this is a problem. A lot of people will heavily, and this is all gacha games, if anyone criticizes the game, they'll get attacked by the people that don't want to see like it's like the PvP of how much money a game makes that you go over every month. And if you criticize the game at all, everybody's going to jump you. I have not actually seen that too much in Umamusume. I think people have their criticisms, but I think most of us really like the game. I mean, like I've said, the gacha system in this game is pretty bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. I actually prefer it over a system like, say, Hoyoverse has. Even though in a Hoyoverse game, you can say you spend a lot less to get characters and that stuff. I like stuff getting added into the standard banner and that randomness of the getting SSR, especially with the Umas. The biggest improvement that they can make on that side, just copy Nikkei's system. Make the clovers work just like the gold tickets in Nikkei, and it fixes, I wouldn't say, it makes their gacha system so much better, even for free-to-plays. Being able to stockpile your pity and make them kind of work like like the rainbow shards to a certain extent would just go a long ways for free-to-plays, and it really doesn't. The whales are still going to have to whale out if they want to get like the super meta cards, because even if they had the Nikkei gold ticket system, your free-to-plays are not MLBing all those niche cards for track-specific things or strategy-specific things, but they would have all the generics pretty easily. And it would definitely make it a lot better. And I would say it's the best gacha. If they did that, it would be the best gacha system out there. I would say it even surpassed Nikkei in that extent because of how much more of an impact the support cards have versus dupes of Nikkeis in that game. So that's all they would have to do to make it better. Now, are they going to do it? No. Of course they're not going to do that. One of the problems when you make the gacha system better, that the problem is it's very hard to pull it back. So Nikkei actually has this problem in that because it's so free-to-play friendly, they've increased the amount of Nikkeis that are 1% rate versus 2% rate. And they started doing like triple banners with those 1%ers to try and drain people of their polls because it's so easy to save a bunch of them. If Nikkei made it easier and it just kind of backfires on them in terms of people not having to spend as much, it's very hard to have an excuse to take it away. You can already see the critique they got as soon as they added, there was a ton of backlash as soon as they put in limited Umas. This was them downgrading the gacha system. They made the gacha worse. They made these Umas semi-limited. You can't really do it. It's very hard to PR this into being good for the players. And so if they make anything better, it's very hard to pull it back to what it originally was. So that's why it's very tricky and why they almost certainly would never do something like that. And if they did do something like that, just know they're going to make their money in some other way. Yeah, overall, I mean, I think their critiques here aren't too crazy. And I mentioned at the top, they say gacha games are predatory by nature. Many players tolerate it to a certain extent when the game is good. But Cygames is testing how far they can cross the line without making it, which is true. There's no VIP system at the moment. I don't know what they kind of mean with that. I'm guessing that's like the high spender systems in some of the gachas. But, yeah, they are slowly, as some call it, ramping it up. The passes are their ways to slowly start nickeling and diming the non-whales. And, I mean, right now it's not too bad. To me, $35 a month is completely fine. I mean, if you played any MMOs in the past, I mean, they were $15 a month for subscriptions. I think a lot of them still are. And I view it as a subscription for this game if you're playing it a lot. This game is really fun if you... I mean, I've got almost 3,000 hours. I think they say they use their experience up here. It's kind of funny. Where is it? I don't know how much other hours they have in it. Yeah, they got almost 500. I've got 6 times this because mine doesn't even include my phone time. And whenever I'm out and about and not able to do it on my PC, I'm playing it on my phone. So I'm getting my money's worth if I'm spending 35. I say I get my money's worth and I've spent 1,000. So I kind of think of subscriptions always being the pay to play type system. Every game that has a monthly pass or a battle pass, I always view it as just the subscription to play. The free to play is the free trial. The pass is kind of your subscription to play the true game, is my thoughts on it. Now, as they keep ramping up these passes, I could see it getting too bad. But to me, it's not at that point yet, where it's gotten excessive. But that's me personally. I mean, I know some people, any type of spending's bad. But I will say it's not the end of the world on that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my thoughts on it, and hopefully, I don't know how long this yap session was on it. But I think they're while they're critiquing it heavily, I mean, I don't think they're getting attacked too much. I haven't looked at the comments too much, but they make sure to they mention everything pretty well in here. And kind of some of their thoughts on it. But, yeah, I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. You shouldn't pay money to play any game. Yeah. Everything should be free. I know. But, yeah. I mean, the game is really, really good. To me, the game warrants $35 a month, in my opinion. I mean, it's just that I play it that much and like the game that much. Some other people might not. I mean, and it might not be that kind of game for you, which then the free-to-play option of just playing through the story and pulling emos here and there is completely fine if that's the way you approach it. But I could tell you without those systems, I don't know how good the game could be. Because you kind of need a constant incoming revenue to keep servers online and stuff. Same reason with MMOs and anything else. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes from here. But right now, I mean, yes, they are slowly adding in new quality of life with spending, but it is not at the point that I would say it's too egregious yet. We'll just have to kind of see how they go from here, but that's going to be pretty much it for this react. And if you like my content, if you'd like, comment, subscribe, it really helps, and thanks for watching.